International Trade Hemp, CBD, minor cannabinoids. Overview of international trade of medical cannabis, hemp, CBD products. CEO of Cannabis Pharmaceutical Research and Development, LLC. From the United States of America, Michael Patterson.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Michael Patterson, CEO of U.S. Cannabis Pharmaceutical Research and Development. And I'm very excited to be coming to you live from Florida right now. It's a little bit after midnight, so a little bit late here, but definitely excited about being on today. So we're going to talk a little bit about international trade of hemp, CBD, and minor cannabinoids. Now, the number one thing you have to remember in this industry, if you're not familiar with it, is trust. It's a very new industry, a lot of different types of people coming in. And so any type of business you're going to do in the cannabis space as well as the hemp space is you really need to develop that level of trust. So whatever you say you're going to do, definitely do that and vice versa, because this is internationally growing business very, very quickly, and you have to have trusted partners. So a little bit about me. I'm a lifetime healthcare executive, 26 years in healthcare management in the United States. Run pharmacies, laboratories, skilled nursing chain or nursing homes, as most people are used to having them called. We did about 230 million in average sales per year. I've done a lot of work with the federal government here in the United States. We've actually been talking to the Biden campaign recently about their cannabis legalization potentials and staging and how to do that. I've definitely done some education for the FBI, DEA, and state health departments. So we're very involved here in the States, and we are involved around the world as well. Some of the things that I've worked on, do a lot of writing for Orlando Medical News, as well as Florida MD Magazine. I'm the editorial board for American Journal of Endocannabinoid Magazine, which is the first ever peer-reviewed printed journal in the United States specifically dedicated to endocannabinoid science. Also, I'm a board member of Tourette Syndrome Awareness Foundation and analyst for and GuidePoint. So some of the things that we do at U.S. Cannabis, we do a lot of consulting. I tell people right now we're becoming a large general contractor for the industry. We deal with a lot of different types of projects, and I'll be going through those here briefly, and you'll kind of understand why we're talking about international trade today. We're the corporate compliance directors for a group out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for their 6 dispensaries. And we also help with writing and assistance of laws and regulations. We actually help write the medical cannabis law in the state of Oklahoma. And we're currently working on developing the world's largest hemp and cannabis research zone that will be based in Florida. It'll be about 100 miles by 60 miles, and we should have more of that information on that later in 2021. Some of the companies that we currently work with, in the top left is the cryptocurrency called Paytrax. It's one of the first, one of the cryptocurrencies is about to get a US SEC no action letter. If you're unfamiliar with that, it's basically would give it legal status in the United States. Only 2 other cryptocurrencies have ever done that. So we're very excited about that. The bottom left corner is our company, MGMC Pharma. We are joint venture partners with MGMC Pharma, which is headquartered in the Seychelles. We currently ship THC and CBD products from Lesotho, the country inside of South Africa, to countries around the world. We just recently delivered 16 kilos of CBD and THC crude into Australia, and we're shipping into Germany starting next week. The Colville Federation is in the middle top. That's an Indian tribe we did some consulting with. UBS, United Bank of Switzerland, I actually spoke at one of their large global conferences in Boston last year, which is dealing with global trade. GLG is an investment advisor. Also in the bottom right corner, that's the FBI National Academy, did some work for them. And I'm also on the advisory board for a publicly traded company called Acres Bio in that respect. Some of our clients a little bit more in depth. So MGMC, we are based in Lesotho for our operation. We currently are also in 4 other African countries. We currently selling THC and CBD EU GMP products to all legal countries. If you're unfamiliar, right now there's about 40 countries that cannabis THC products are legal. The CBD products, it's almost 50 countries. And Paytrax is our cryptocurrency. We're expecting a final letter from the US SEC, hopefully by, it says October 2020. We're running a little late because it's with the US government. So sometimes that can take a little bit longer. We're hoping to have that by the end of the year. And we're hoping that can become the law on the cryptocurrency that will back up different cryptocurrencies moving forward, and it is based in the United States. So our goal is to take that cryptocurrency and start working it through the Oklahoma medical cannabis market to be able to prove concept. So some of our partnerships globally, UnitedHempStore.com is based out of the UK, and we work with United Hemp Store all the time. In the bottom left corner, Integrated Compliance Solutions. They are the software company that banks use to take cannabis money in the United States primarily. So they have over 40 banks, and so it's very good for them to keep moving. We advise them. Greenlight Payments in the middle, that is the largest merchant processor in the United States for hemp and cannabis accounts. It's owned by Integrated Compliance Solutions. Parcel on the top right is a software provider that does blockchain seed-to-sale software. They are based out of Melbourne, Australia. And then Simploy is an HR benefits firm here in the States that's dealing with cannabis and hemp clients. And then Hemp Synergistics is a company we work with in the States that exports products of CBD in nature and minor endocannabinoids all across the country and throughout the world. Some of the hemp production that I think it's good for all of us to understand, especially if you're not from the United States. The United States is becoming a very large leader in hemp production. In 2018, we did about 80,000 acres. Last year in 2019, we did about 500,000 acres. We're expecting around the same amount of acreage in the state in 2020. I look at some of the hemp and CBD products we have in the United States that we're starting to see a lot of sales. This is back in 2018, so you can see the tinctures are about 39%. You're starting to see more gummies as well as topicals and capsules. Vape oil and cartridges are about the same, but we're starting to see more usage of the topicals, the capsules, and the gummies. Tinctures are still there, but we're starting to see more products starting to come into the market. The frequency of hemp CBD use in the United States, this is good to understand because our patterns will pattern other places around the world. Right now, we're having 20% of the population use it on a daily basis, which is an amazing amount. And so this is something to where we're seeing, we'll eventually see through other minor cannabinoids other than CBD. But right now, the American population is starting to get used to CBD, which is a good thing. So some of the benefits of dealing with a domestic market, not going outside the country. You have a rapidly expanding market here in the States. We've had a very rapidly expanding hemp market, which has been good and bad. Sometimes you have some nefarious people get involved, and so that's why it can be bad. It's good because more people are aware of it and more services are available to companies who are working in this industry. High quality of product is usually available at a low cost as you get more volume of product coming out. And you can actually go to the manufacturers. You can actually see what they're doing. You can go to the farms. Which is a good way to build that trust. Some of the uses of industrial hemp, if you're not familiar, it makes over 25,000 different products. We expect to see an increase in manufacturing of people starting to use hemp, not just for the cost savings. Initially, it won't be cost savings, but over time, you'll start to see cost savings with using hemp. And also the directive of a lot of governments around the world going to more natural fibers, getting rid of the fibers that are bad for the planet. So as we all know, hemp is very good for the planet, and it's a renewable resource because it grows every 4 months. Some of the other hemp products that you're seeing, we're seeing a lot of animal bedding become a big thing here in the United States. They're looking at that. It actually works better than the current bedding that they have, as well as clothes, and also lotions and creams are becoming bigger. We're seeing more science and technology come in on bioavailability of these products, except for the clothing, of course. But we're starting to see more clothing available here in the States. I think India is going to be a big leader in hemp clothing and hemp materials. I think Thailand, too, can definitely be that because of your cost of labor there and your ability to have land and to do that at a very low price. So I think also the American markets and around the world will be noticing hemp products more, especially different types of clothing. And so I think that's going to be very big moving forward. Challenges in your domestic markets, you have a rapidly expanding market. I know Thailand's just kind of getting started, and so you're going to have a rapidly expanding market. If your barrier to entry is too low, then everybody does it. If you've ever heard the sound of, if it's easy, everybody would do it. Well, sometimes in some countries it is too easy. Here in the States, sometimes it's too easy, and people are doing hemp and minor cannabinoids that maybe shouldn't. Oversupply coming quickly. Here in the States, we've had a crash of pricing because of the oversupply, because we weren't allowed to really do a lot of exports. So I see that kind of leveling out over the next year to where we have enough product and we have enough supply. I think the international markets coming out of the United States and shipping globally, I see that as a larger market moving forward for hemp and minor cannabinoids. The profit margins are starting to decrease. I mean, if you've been in the game, you've probably seen it where you had CBD isolate going for 5, 6, 7,000, and now it's getting down to the more of maybe 500 to 800 US dollars. Some of the top producing countries internationally we have on there. China is one of the big ones. The challenge that I see, if there's anybody from China, I have nothing against China. What we're finding though is on the global markets, a lot of people don't trust Chinese goods, especially with hemp. So that's one of the challenges that we see as a reputational issue. In regards to the United States, it says 285 acres. 1,000 acres, which to me is pretty big. So it's something to where you're going to start to see the U.S. start to take over base product, which is the hemp, and being able to create some of those products out of here. Countries where hemp and CBD is legal is all in the green. The ones where it's in the red, China's in the red basically on the THC products. And then more countries in Europe are starting to allow CBD. And down there in the bottom in Africa, you can see South Africa, as well as Lesotho is now legal. But primarily in Lesotho, it's mainly for export. So there's really no domestic market there. The future expansion of hemp and cannabis legalization, you're starting to see Africa is going to become a bigger player. As we all know, Thailand and Asia is going to become a very big player in this. And so it's just a matter of getting your regulation to the point where it's ready to go and be able to dominate in the global markets. Countries where hemp and CBD is legal, the European Union standard just increased from 0.2 to 0.3 THC. That was done a few weeks ago prior to me submitting my slides. So it's great that they've definitely moved that up. So if you're shipping into Europe right now, the standard is 0.3. But one of the challenges you're going to have are the actual border patrols, the actual customs, because they don't always get the latest information. And so a lot of times we've had trouble. We've shipped hemp from Florida to Spain, Florida to England, Florida to Lesotho. And so most of the times, if we've shipped it once or twice, it goes through a lot quicker. What we're finding is the first time you typically ship, you need to try to get a hold of the actual border agents who are going to approve your shipment and let them know ahead of time, because there's so much unknown about this new industry. It's very good to let the border agents know ahead of time and make sure you have all the proper documentation in order to be able to get your product through. The benefits for international markets, specifically for U.S. companies, and this could be on any company anywhere around the world, you have a better quality of product. You have to ask yourself, if you're in Thailand or you're in Asia, what is going to make somebody want to get your product rather than somebody who can get it in that actual country? So it's got to be off of price, quality, or both, because to go through the hassle of doing shipping internationally, which is so much harder for hemp and cannabis because it is so new and it's still so unknown, you have to get past that barrier. You're building that brand recognition. I'm definitely excited to start working with some groups out of Asia who do some shipping. We can work back and forth because we see a huge market into Asia. We feel we can provide value for local providers there, and then vice versa to have their products come to us, whether it be in Africa or the United States. The challenges of international markets, as I've been mentioning, you do have evolving regulation. The importing challenges, as I was mentioning, are definitely big. I would also definitely recommend, if you can get to a logistical expert, somebody who's used to shipping around the world, have that person on your payroll or be able to contact them on any time you need a shipment. We learned that the hard way in Lesotho. We had to do due to the COVID-19 and the pandemic. A lot of companies weren't shipping. DHL, by the way, who does shipping all over the world, they do not ship hemp flower or THC flower. So keep that in mind as you look to these different shipping companies. UPS through Markin. Markin is actually doing shipping of THC and CBD-based products, flower, as well as oils. So you have to check with your companies ahead of time. Make sure they know what you're shipping. Don't sit there and lie to them, because it's going to come back and bite you in the butt. Also, another thing I recommend is when you're dealing with a client internationally with hemp or cannabis, always ship them a sample first. Don't just send 300-400 kilos at one time and it gets stuck in customs and you lose your product. So test the international markets, make sure that they can get through customs, make sure that the company you're sending it to has all the proper paperwork and knows what paperwork they need to get it into the country. Most times we find that the companies we ship to, they don't understand how to do international shipping in their own country. So then we're shipping in product and it gets stuck in customs. For example, the product we sent to Spain has been there a month because they told us we didn't send the right documentation. After pressing the buyer on the documentation, they didn't even know the documentation. So we were left with a sample product, which is only 1 kilogram. But if we would have shipped 200-300 kilograms, we would have been out a lot of money. Also, in working with trusted partners, that's one of the things I talked about at the beginning of the show, talking about trust. And that's something you want to find, as well as making sure your banking is set up, making sure your banks know that you're going to be shipping across the planet, so they understand where these wires are going to come in based on your clients. Future regulation, this is very important. Anytime you're dealing with international trade, specifically in medical cannabis, EU GMP, or EU Good Manufacturing Practices, is the standard. So as you're looking through your plan, if you're not EU GMP certified or compliant, then it's going to be very difficult for you to sell your products on an international stage. Now, if you're dealing with hemp industrial products, it's totally different. So those are more of an industrial line, but anything medically related, whether it be CBD or THC, you're going to have to definitely make sure that you have that EU GMP certification, as well as the proper documents to get your export permits to export product out of the country. Also, mandatory laboratory testing is coming along. We still don't have a universal standard for laboratory testing, so that's creating a challenge. I've sent COAs or certificates of analysis or a lab report from the United States to another client in another country, and they would say, well, that's not good enough. We need X, Y, and Z. So we would have to go back to the lab and make sure we can get the proper documents. So everybody does things a little bit differently, and it's trying to figure out how we can all work on the same system. And that's kind of where we are in international trade right now with hemp and cannabis. So out of all this, novel food is a big one in Germany as well as the UK. They're moving to novel food for CBD, which is a new category. Getting a novel food certified is expensive. It can run up to $300,000 US. So it's something that you want to work with somebody in that country who, if you want to import into Germany and you're doing CBD products, you want to be able to make sure you're dealing with somebody in Germany who deals with novel food and get you certified, so that way you know the exact regulations you're dealing with. And how to get involved in international hemp and CBD business. Choose an international, you can do a CBD provider who's EU GMP approved. You could sit there and provide product to a company who has EU GMP certification. Right now, what we do is we're EU GMP compliant in Lesotho, which means we can ship out ingredients. We just can't ship out finished product. So we have our ingredient, which is THC or CBD oil, which we ship into Australia or Germany, and then they make it into a final product. And then we can give it to the customer through our partners who are EU GMP certified or API certified, which is active pharmaceutical ingredient. So think pharmaceutical manufacturers. And then how to get involved in the CBD business. The big thing I tell people a lot is you got to read, go to conferences just like we are here now, ask a lot of questions, and reach out to those people across LinkedIn and ask them for advice. I definitely encourage everybody to follow me on LinkedIn. It's Michael Patterson, U.S. Cannabis, Pharmaceutical Research and Development. I post daily to be able to give people as much information as I can on the global stage as well as the United States stage. So currently approaching almost 29,000 followers, and so getting to move up in that respect to try to help as many people as I can. So I have a few minutes left if anybody has any questions.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We're going to have to save most of our questions for the discussion panel tonight, but I would like you to go back to the map of the United States really quick. Can you go back to your slide that had the map of the United States? I wanted to ask you about that.
Okay. Can you see my screen still?
Not now. Can you please share it again?
Sure.
Okay, we can see your screen. Yeah, Yep. It was the one before this map.
That one?
Yes. Okay, so we have 1 minute left. Can you?
Montana just legalized it. This is 22,000. They went up 3,900% because they went from 22,000 acres prior. They were probably at like 1,200 acres or 800 acres. So in 1 year, they increased, 3,900% just because they just got started the year before. And then in 2018, they actually had, a good harvest. So they have almost one of the highest amounts of acreage between Montana and Wyoming in hemp right now, which is interesting because Colorado usually has more of product as well as Oregon. But actually, Wyoming and Montana have so much land that they're starting to move into hemp. And so we're going to start to see that more of a trend even into 2020 and beyond.
Great. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Patterson. We look forward to hearing from you in our panel. Thank you.
Thank you.